Hello, and thank you again for joining us on this Goddess edition of our Collective Conscious panel. Today we have myself, Dyanna Marie from Transcending Ascension. We have Samantha Consciously. Would you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hiya, I'm Samantha Consciously from Twitter, now X. I'm a medium, I'm an ex-nurse, I'm a poet, I'm a philosopher, I suppose, and I'm just a general talker of rubbish, I guess.
Perfect. And we have Karen Lisa joining us today. Let us know about yourself, Karen.
Hi, thanks for having me and organizing this. So, I have a small spiritual fitness studio in central Pennsylvania. My journey was just very crazy the last decade or so, but all that I've learned, and not even learned, all I've unlearned and started to remember about who I am and what my purpose is. And it's just been an incredible healing and peace and joy in life. And that I was like, yeah, everybody needs to know this stuff. Like people are, they don't know that how they're causing their own suffering in their lives. And yeah, so that's my angle, is I want people to just feel better about life because we're here for a reason and it's wonderful.
Beautiful. That's exactly how I feel too, is just to help them feel better and not go through the same pain. And hopefully we'll be joined by Kirsten Mustain later as well. She should be showing up, and we may or may not, probably not, get a pop in from Rockell. But today we want to dive right into a very serious topic I feel like a lot of starseeds will resonate with, and we were going real good with it before we even started filming. So hopefully we can jump right back in, and that's talking about starseeds, autism, and just growing up, especially as a woman, and how beauty standards, which is another topic we want to get to, is so high on the expectations of what a woman should look like. But I actually like beauty. Like we have this, and I want to talk about that later, how we're allowed liking beauty, yet it's going to look personal. And when you are a star seed, I want to kind of like maybe move that term autism to star seed and the level of how much we were poisoned, because that's really where you get the ones like my son that can't talk at all versus the ones like us that were just maybe a little bit weird in school, and it's called masking, where we can hide it. We learn to adopt different personalities to kind of hide it, certain tricks to get it. I know when I used to have jobs, I had things that I would do to get around my disability. Like I wouldn't want to call it a disability though, my inability to focus on blah 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 instructions, because it's just like, no thanks, because I can pay attention if someone's talking about magic, if someone's teaching about quantum physics, we're there. So you were talking, Karen, about the movie Harriet the Spy, and I always resonated with her, and I think now it's because she was another out of the box girl, could have been a star seed, and how that looks in childhood. And you said it was bringing a lot of things up for you, Karen.
Yeah, it was interesting because, I tend to be very release the past, let it go, got the lessons, focus on now, create the future. But so I guess kind of watching that, the cruelty, like the level of just hateful actions, and it just, like, I haven't watched or experienced anything like that in so many years that it just was like, ooh, there's a little unhealed something going on there. Because like you said, it realizing, especially around 2020, realizing the way I lived my life at, working in public policy, government contracting, around education and human services, about helping children and people, wanting to improve their lives. And it's so, just really feeling that young wounded energy again was just like really reminded me, just like, yeah, we need to nurture the children, but also help the parents, the caregivers, understand that, to just the awareness of that star seed kind of energy, mentality, behavior, that it's not requiring punishment, but like understanding.
Yes, exactly. And a different approach is what I have found. It's just, I can learn the same information. Oh, I don't want to learn a lot of the things they care about is the problem. But I can learn. but it's in a unique way. How's this look for you, Samantha? How did that play out in your upbringing and in school? Like, how did that look?
So it was really difficult for me because I was labelled as a bit of a difficult child. I'm still a little bit difficult, I'll be honest. The thing is, I think when you're on this path, you're basically wired differently. And some call it autism, some call it starseeds. It's just, we're not made to fit into the system. We're made to take it down. We're made to create a new system. And that's the whole point. And that's the difference, I think, that we're wired slightly different. One, to stop us being manipulated, basically, and hypnotized by the propaganda, because even from a young age, I knew the world was not what we were told it was. I remember asking some, because I've mentioned before, I was brought up Catholic. My dad's family were Catholic, and my mum Safi was spiritualist, so I've had a bit of a mix of upbringings there, obviously a bit woo and a bit and then a bit conventional. But I was asking about kind of the church, and I said, if Henry VIII created the Protestant church, you know, it was about the troubles in Ireland, and there's a big division between Catholics and Protestants. And my question was, why are they arguing over a religion that a king made up? And they were like, oh, you can't say that. I was like, but that's not a real religion. Somebody's made that up. That's a man-made religion. And that was like a question at 7 years old. And they're like, oh my God, don't be asking that. And it's just things like that, you know, because we're seen as really subversive, and I suppose we are subversive. And the point is to challenge the convention. And you've got to have kind of a big set of, you know, testicles to really do that, I think, as a woman. Because when we're subjugated anyway, because the feminine is subjugated, we're in a place in the earth at the moment where the patriarchy is absolutely taken over. It's inverted. I've got no problem with men. I love men. I think they're beautiful. I think they're divine creatures. But the way that they have been taught to operate in society is, you know, it's really unhealed. And you see that in a lot of men in society now. That wounding is coming out, and I think that has a massive impact on the feminine, and especially their daughters as well. And I realise I'm on a bit of a rant now, but yeah, going on to like the yeah, when you wind me up, you can't stop me. Yeah, and like going on to the beauty standards and how we fit in. You notice that a lot of these bizarre standards that are in place are enforced by other women. It isn't even men, it's other women. They are conditioned to be our own policers, and it's the same across all issues within like the control system. We are our own jailers, you know? And if anybody steps out of line or they don't conform, it's automatically, you know, we'll ridicule them, we'll chuck them out of the village. And it goes back to the days when, you know, if you were chucked out of the village, you were chucked out to die. And then you can trace that all the way back then to the fear of death, basically. And that's why we conform. It's this innate fear within us. It's pre-programmed, you know.
100%. That's been coming up a lot for me too. I'm posting about it. Something I always knew, but like you can know something and then be like, no, this is serious. Like repeat until it sinks in deeper and deeper. Like we are made to
Dyanna, you might go in, my love.
Oh, already we just started.
I know.
Yeah, plug in the thing. But yeah, we police ourselves. That is for sure.
Give it a smack. Normally work. There you go. We're good.
Maybe I'll switch to my computer. No, I can't. I'm the host. Is it still bad or no?
Yeah, you've still got Mr. Robot voice.
Okay. Can you understand me though?
Yeah, we can understand you. Yeah. It's just a bit of extra flavour. Go on.
Okay, I'll keep it going. I plugged it in. It might be, I don't know what it is. It's fine. It didn't used to do this and it just started, but that's tech for you. But yeah, it's just something that we cannot know enough. And one thing, let's move into the beauty topic. And that's, I stopped wearing makeup for a long time because I wanted to be empowered and be my own sovereign self. And it just hit me because I've been wearing makeup for these episodes that like, I used to really love makeup. It used to mean a lot to me. And I even would get made fun of for it once upon a time because I didn't do it like the rest of the girls. But it didn't matter. It was my art source. It was my palette. And then it hit me today because I stopped in the whole spiritual thing wearing makeup. One, it's toxic. Two, I'm like, you should love thyself. But then it hit me, this face is just made of a DNA. Where I don't just have DNA, I have a soul and a spirit that wants to come through via art. And yes, it's still toxic, but part of me is like, should I go back to wearing makeup? Because it's what I want it to be. It's not a beauty standard. It's not because what somebody else wants. It's because when I look at my face like this, it feels more like me than when I look at it without makeup. Like, this is refreshing. And so what do you guys think with that topic?
Go for it, Karen.
It's interesting you'd say that for the makeup thing, because even manicures and pedicures, like I used to get them every month back in the day. Now I'm like maybe once a year, or haircut, makeup, but then it's also like I think I let myself go too much, like nothing, but then realizing, a little bit of concealer under, like there's nothing wrong with it, if I'm getting, you know, non-toxic kind of cosmetics. But for me, it's been about finding a balance of, I love makeup. I used to, my previous career, it was all, the shoes, the bags, the makeup, it was all just ornamental. But then I
Yeah.
realize now, I'm like, I love some of that. Like, it makes me feel pretty. And when I feel good, I radiate more love and light. So it's like, yeah, stop, in my head trying to be so super vigilant about, I'm not doing this because of some beauty standard. And, I'm not gonna, just be a bum. So I'm also still kind of doing the bum thing about, the nice clothes, and finding a balance between not living in pajamas and
I think you
from
look like a bum.
life
You look
suit.
lovely. You look lovely. You look really nice.
Thank you. But
You do. I mean,
yeah,
I know what you mean. Though it's like, I think it all comes down to intention, and obviously there's a toxic element, isn't there? And I think it's, what are we doing it for? What's the reasons behind why we put in makeup on? Is it an expression? Are we doing it like? Does it make us feel good because we're expressing ourselves, or are we doing something to conform? Are we trying to hide the bits that we're ashamed of? I mean, I often now. I mean, I look like an absolute scruff today. I'll be honest. I'll go to the supermarket and I've got a dog walking uniform and I'm covered in mud and my coat's ripped and my hair's all over, and I just think, I really can't be bothered anymore. But there was a time of day that I wouldn't leave the house unless I'd got a full face of makeup on. My hair was completely perfect. I'd got a perfectly pristinely ironed clothes on. There wasn't a speck of mud on my boots or whatever I was going to wear. And it was really materialistic, and I really had to sit with myself and say, am I that am I that self-conscious being who I am and needing the approval of other people that I can't go out just being who I am? Do you know what I mean? And it is the judgment. I think that's what it comes down to personally, for me anyway. It was the judgments of other people, like, again, that assimilation into society, meeting the expectations of other people. And actually, when I go to the supermarket and I look like rubbish, it doesn't matter because nobody's looking at me anyway. They're all looking about what they're going to eat or whatever. And if somebody does look at you, then do you know what? Who cares? They're not an important person in your life, are they? And it's having that self-confidence. And I think if you want to wear makeup as well, like you said, to express yourself, I was the same, Dyanna. I remember getting this. I mean, we've got something in the UK called Superdrug. And I remember being like 13 and I got this colour palette and it had all that purples in and like glitter. And I used to like do like rainbow stripes on my eyes and like big eyebrows, and it was great. And I had these little like glittery butterfly clips for my hair. And I know, I thought it looked amazing. I probably looked like a drag queen in honesty, but it was great. I loved it, And it's just that expression, that creative expression. And who's to say that's wrong or right? If you want to get a nice handbag and you really love that handbag and that handbag brings you joy, and you like, whatever, you might like the smell of it if you're autistic, anybody, I'm not saying that for you guys, but I'm a bit of a sensory person, and I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a weirdo. I love a good sniff. So, even if you get, when you get a new handbag and it's like nothing, like, you like shove your face in it, whatever floats your boat, if it makes you happy, do it. That's my motto anyway.
Yes, I'm like that with books. I love smelling books. Like, I read them in their essence. And I like what you said there, and I think that's exactly it. And like everything, we're like figuring it out again. Like, we're retooling it, because you should be able to go
Yeah.
outside and be confident not wearing makeup. That's got to be just as good. But then also have fun, because star seeds are here also, like, not just to bring down cosmic information, but to bring down fun.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've always found that the more fun I have, the stronger the magic, the magnetic energy of like bringing opportunities, people, energies, thoughts, ideas,
Mhm.
inspirations. And it's like over long enough time, oh, that's bothering you, because every time that there's like a problem, the solution also exists. And to understand and pull it back into the present moment, like, okay, this is how it is, but you're always creating your future in the now. You create that with your vibration, your frequency. And the best one is to be selfish about how you feel. Like, always be having fun, be kind, put yourself out there. And that's scary, especially for, if we've had traumas in the past of being persecuted for being different, for not
Yeah,
Yeah,
following
the
rules
witch
that
wound.
absolutely make no sense.
I will say though, that's really funny because I'm quite inhibited, as you probably gathered by now. Um, so if I go places like, say we're at a gathering or whatever, I'm always the first one up being silly. And there's this experiment that did, I forgot the name of it now. And what actually happens is, it was like a video, and we did it at university, and it was a bit of a psychological experiment. And it was like a festival, and they were on this field. And the first one person got up to dance, and it was like, oh, that person's dancing, and this person didn't care, they're having a great time. And then another person got up, and it sort of slowly shifted the consensus, and they waited a little bit. And then a third person got up to dance. And then before you know it, because it was like the lemming effect, everybody was like, oh, this is all right, we can have fun. And it's almost like people seek permission, do you know, rather to just, it's the boxes, isn't it? So yeah, it's going against the grain, even to have fun, that I find. So yeah, I'm always the first one out there, and I don't care. And I do find it shifts the room. If you're happy to be yourself, then you're leading by example. And I think that's one of the big things about coming here as well. That's part of my mission, definitely. Can you bring joy? How do you bring joy? By being the full embodiment of yourself. As long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as you're spreading kindness, like you said, Karen, you're doing it in a kind and loving and compassionate way. That's what it's about. That's how we shift the frequency. And you mentioned about laughter. I mean, I had a bit of a bad afternoon yesterday, and I rang my friend. And to be honest, with all the energy, I don't know what you've been like, Karen and Dyanna, but the energy activations that have been going on at the moment have been absolutely crazy. I mean, they've been a real wild ride. I couldn't even put a string of sentence together yesterday. Yeah, so I rang my friends, and we both of us have gone through these energy activations, and in the end we were just laughing at each other, and we were literally got tears rolling down our faces. We were like rolling with laughter. And I noticed, when you, from an energetic standpoint, because I work a lot with energy, if you feel into the energetics of laughter when you start laughing, because it's kind of like a rolling motion, you can then tap into that, and you roll it throughout your biofield, so it like moves outwards, and you build up this momentum. And what it actually does, it's a bit like orgasmic energy, in the same way, when you have like a rolling orgasm and you put it through your field, you actually expand it out, and it clears all your field for you. It's amazing. It's like a medicine.
Yes, laughing. I'm really getting into now. We always knew we liked it, but I'm really into stand-up comedy. That's one of the things I thought about being once upon a time. And the magic that happens during, like, especially stand-up comedy, it's just amazing. And then we're seeing, I don't know if you guys probably know Bill Burr, a huge stand-up comedian. Well, we're really into him, and we watched his thing in 224, but we just watched it. And he's going through this deep spiritual awakening live on stage.
Oh my
And
god.
he opened up about childhood trauma, about depression, but then also about the ways of the future, and just made you laugh the whole time. And that's just exactly it. That's exactly what, and I think Louis C.K. is also a star seed, and I even think Ricky Gervais is too. But even though I even talked to him on Twitter, calling him out for being a fake atheist, and he was like, "No, it's real." And I'm like, it can't be, because you're a star seed. I just throwing like that amount of magic to make you laugh. Like, that's what the shamans used to do once upon a time, is just be funny and make you laugh and just be crazy. And that's got to be okay. The fact that society wanted us to stay in this prison box of not laughing, working, and being hello BJ Cast. Stephen, our fellow, we'll see tomorrow. But you gotta laugh. You gotta have that medicine to make you, honestly, it's alchemy. Because when we laugh, we can take trauma, we can disintegrate it, and we can create something new and pure. And it just fills us with energy. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that you're talking about alchemizing it and making it into something new. And I can't pronounce it properly, Dyanna. What do you call them? Is it hiatus? I can never go on that empath, that sacred clown.
Yoga empath. Yes, I recently just learned about the existence of the yoga empath a couple months ago. And when I saw that, I was like, yes. And then when you talked about yourself, I was like, you sound like one yourself.
Probably am. Yeah. It's bringing that comedy in it. Yeah. Go on, Karen. Sorry, my love.
Oh no, I actually, as yeah, with the laughter, it just came through like this random memory of when I was very little. Only child, so anything ever went wrong, guess who got screamed at? So I learned very young about deflection. So if I'd be getting screamed at, I realized that, oh, if I just grab some of the cat food kibble, throw it in my mouth, and start going, rah, 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 all of a sudden the screaming would stop. And like it would just stop because just by doing something so off the wall, it would throw off, it sounds, but then I realized like I had all kinds of things I would do, and I would use humor to be like, oh, yeah, that doesn't bother me. Oh, you want to scream at me? Hey, doesn't bother me. Whatever. And just interesting, like when you think about that, how that does radiate. First you get the energy away from you, or just like get the external circumstance to just like back off, but then just be like, haha, what kind of magic do I have to control people and make them stop screaming at me? So yeah, the laughter is absolutely incredible, and we need more of it. We need more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know it's really interesting though as well? Like from an alchemical point of view as a woman, do you think like that's kind of the sacred medicine that we bring as well? I know men do it as well, but I'm just thinking more in like a shamanic way, because it's almost like it strips you back of your inhibitions again. It's like leaving the ordinary reality and moving into non-ordinary reality when you through like laughter, like a sacred tool. Do you know what I mean? Does that sound weird?
No, yes, it's like bringing in higher realms. It is. That's what alchemy is too. Like it's like you're digging up. Like alchemy is like digging up. And there's so many different ways, tips and tricks. That's what I devoted my entire transcending ascension. That's like I try to help people transcend ascension with all these little tips and tricks that I've gone through in my own trial and error way. And I resonate with your dog food eating or cat food eating. My sister used to beat me viciously, like viciously. She didn't like that I said things different. She thought I was always doing it for attention. She just didn't believe anything about me was real. And it turns out, because she's a starseed herself, she's now awakened and she's amazing. And she's completely rebirthed as a new person. So it's like her own regression. And you can see that almost probably in everybody. It's like they want to be as openly magical as we're capable of being. And she used to beat me, and she was much bigger than me, even though she was younger. And I used to do crazy things to just upset her. She used to hate when I sang, so I'd sing. I used to do gross things like lick all over my hand to just get her to like be like, ooh, grossed out and leave. Because like it was a defense mechanism that I could do because I was not a violent person. And even if I was, she's much bigger than me to like get out of the situation. So it's funny what we can do to save ourselves. But that's amazing, because the alternative to that is burying it and becoming the darkness yourself, which ends up happening to a lot of people that were like abused, or even when you're a starseed, like you don't even have to be overly abused to be abused. So like one, let's say neurotypical kid could go through the same childhood and be like, it was fine, get over it. Where that like starseedy kid is going to be deeply traumatized by the same thing, but that neurotypical person will have adopted that behavior that their parents had. They're going to grow up and be angry or potentially minorly or severely abusive themselves. They're going to more likely live out that pattern. So when they say it's all right, it's because they've adopted that into a part of themselves, and that's who they are. So of course they're going to say it's all right, because they are that now. We're the star
Mhm.
seed type, like you were saying, Samantha, here to change the way, to be that stick in the mud, but in a good way, to get the people to do it differently. So we grow up and go like, no, that's not okay. But that's so we can break patterns.
You've gone, Dyanna. We've lost you.
She's frozen in carbonite. Oh no.
She is. I actually wanted to ask you, Karen. Yeah, bless her. She has loads of problems, doesn't she, with the internet? Yeah, I was going to ask you, Karen. I was really interested when you were doing the healing panel last week, and you were talking about when you went to a nudist. Was it like a
Resort.
nudist resort? Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it was
it's
fascinating.
just a naturist campground. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I really wanted to like. Was it the loss of inhibitions that kind of freed you up? Do you think that was what helps you heal? And just from like a female perspective, again, like the whole body type thing, isn't it? Like, oh, we need to look a certain way to be considered attractive. And how did you feel about doing that? Did you feel like there was any expectations?
Not really. I wasn't. I think it was a weekday, so it wasn't like super busy or lots of people there and things going on. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm around all these people, like no clothes. But what's really, really incredible about it is just realizing, because there's just so many body types, so many, that you're just like, oh my gosh. It kind of does the deprogramming of the media of like, this, we only show you sexy naked people, or it's only ever associated, with the physical act, but it's
Yeah.
really just shedding layers of, shame, embarrassment. Yeah, it was extremely liberating, just to be around people. And then I'd explain to, not everyone knows about it, but yeah, my husband and I actually had bought a place down there. So he's been good
That's
because it was
amazing. I
such a
love that.
positive
Yeah.
experience. And it's outdoors, it's nature, it's community, and you'll go and you'll see all kinds of vehicles, like super fit. Everyone, like, people are just people. You don't have the designer labels. Literally no labels, but just people really are just in a state of being able to just have a conversation with you and
Yeah.
not be putting on any airs of like, look at me, I'm all woohoo. It's 90 degrees out, it's hot, it's sunny. Everyone's just like, woo, we're just playing pickleball or tennis or lounging at the pool, driving around in the golf carts. It was just like, yeah, normal, regular campground, but
Yeah.
the thing I would say, if anyone's interested to ever try it, privacy, security, that they do background checks. They don't just like open the doors for anybody. So that is one thing I will say, right off the bat is, yeah. So there's always caution. Like personally, I don't go to just any event that does that. I go where I know the people and I feel secure, just to throw that
Safety.
in there.
I thought that was really, really interesting, actually, that you were talking about the labels and shed it. Sorry, Dyanna, I'm overtaking you a bit, Anna. Yeah, it was just about shedding the labels and the layers, and I think it really reminds me kind of my own like journey. And we take off these masks, don't we? And you were on about the programming, and I think one of the big things about women is that they're really I mean, everybody is really, like men and women, but especially women, they're hypersexualized. And it's also like, if you can look at somebody naked, it's like you're just a naked body. You don't have to have, these sexual feelings, or it doesn't have to be a big deal for somebody with no clothes on, And I think that's like a really big deal at the moment. I think that's part of the issue, because women are just expected, to look a certain way, because we're meant to be in service to men, and to fit a certain stereotype, and to fulfill their sexual fantasy. And that's, I mean, I know I probably sound like a raging feminist now, and I'm really not, but that it is something that I've come across, and I think it devalues you as a person because it makes you just about the material, you know?
Yeah,
And
that's
I think
spot
some
on.
of that helps. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's that balance. It's like, as I did, I felt very like sure of myself. Like, I'm like, yeah, I have this beautiful body, it's God, it's energy, it's, like, look at all these other, and it's like, it doesn't have that restriction, I guess, of other people's auric fields. It's not held in by like polyester and spandex. Like, we understand the energetic value of linen, or like the clothing that you wear. And I think about that. I'm like, that might have had a huge part in just how it really sparked something within me about, oh my gosh, like, there's so much more to life than just, you know 8 to 5 sitting in front of a computer all day doing like something I didn't care about, and always trying to talk myself into finding the positive about the job. And it was really just golden handcuffs. So yeah, 2020 shifted a lot, and found the point of like, okay, now you want me to wear a mask, but I was finally taking my mask off that I didn't realize I'd been wearing for my entire life, stifling my truth and my love and my joy. And the more I just share it, and I'm just like, I'm done with judgment. The people who love me for who I am, and not who they project a label upon me of how I should behave, how I should talk, how I should, never talk about religion or politics. But the whole problem is that by being polite and not speaking up, especially certain things, it's normalized things that are not normal. And it's
Yeah,
accepted things and pushed that Overton window to a point where it's like, no, now you woke up, people just want to be left alone. So yeah, divine feminine. We're done with the abuse of women, of children, the manipulation of everything. And I strongly believe that that is coming down, and that there are enough divine feminines in this collective that are aware of what's going on. We're finding each other, we're connecting, we're supporting and reinforcing each other. So we're not automatically going to the, oh, I sound weird when I talk about this stuff. Like, no, it's truth. Truth sounds weird to a world that's been living on lies for centuries.
fucking A. Sorry, I swore, but yeah, go
Yeah.
on. Amazing. Right on, sister.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
couldn't
I'm pretty
agree
proud.
more with anything that you said in that. That was absolutely amazing. I think we should frame it. Yeah. Yeah,
I
I
appreciate that.
completely agree. Yeah, no, I love it. And I think that's the thing. Like, I've noticed the women in our particular little group that we've got, they're all real, like, powerful feminine women, and that's another thing, like with the patriarchy, that I've noticed a lot of unhealed men. And again, I don't want to start poking at men, because that isn't what I'm about, because I love men. I genuinely do, like, probably a bit too much, if I'm honest, but yeah, it's just like, I've lost my thread now. I was thinking about men. This is what's happened, you see. This is what happens. Again, the massive tangent about breaks, and then my head just goes to bubbles. What was I on about? Divine feminine. Yeah, it's the goddess, isn't it? It's the goddess in us all. And what they don't realise is men have got the feminine within them as well. And I was reading them. I've had Barbara, what's she called? Barbara Messiniak, is it? The
Yes.
Palladian Cave. She's been in my head for weeks. And I've like, where have I put that bloody, because I've got loads of books. I'm like, where have I put that bloody book? And I found it today. And I put a bookmark in, and just randomly, because I don't use it, obviously. And I opened the page, and it was a bit about the goddess that she talks about. And she was talking about how the goddess is coming back, and how how the goddess is literally within our very blood, within our cells. And she spoke about kind of the Atlantean thing, and the pre-Christian feminine kind of polarity. And we are in the male polarity at the moment, and I've heard this from many different people. Sorry, my dog's barking. Yeah, so we're moving back into that female polarity, and that's with the goddess. But she was also saying that the goddess was abusing the men. So it really
She was
comes,
mad
this
because
is the
she was
thing.
angry. Yeah, she came out, and she came out furious.
Yeah, but it's getting that balance. Yeah, but it's the same, isn't it? It's the balance. So it's like, just because there's unhealed women, there's unhealed women as well, and you need to heal the masculine and the feminine within all of us, because we're in a world of polarity. We've got both within us, and it's that union. Like when you look at the Kundalini, it goes up the Sushumna, but then you've got the Ajna, the Pingala, and it goes like that, and that's what you need to unify, so you can get you're completely in balance. Because if not, you're out of whack. You end up with inversions. And I think that's, we're let somebody talk now anyway, because my dog's barking.
Yeah, I love that. And
I didn't even hear them. Yes.
They sound cute though. But I like what you said there, and I love Barbara. She's honestly my favorite that I've ever found, and I'm fairly new to her, like maybe 6 months to a year, and I'm just going through all her books, and it's such complete truth, like so complete. And she had a huge chapter on sexuality and reclaiming it, to the point where I realized I had like blocks. And this goes into like what you were saying with the nudist colony. I was just at a pool for 3 weeks. Great Wolf Lodge, it's a whole entire water park hotel. And I wear bathing suits that go down to here, and my bathing suits go down to the bottom goes down to my knees. Like I am covered. And that's how I feel comfortable. And then I read her stuff, and it's like, is that how I'm comfortable? Or did I just get comfortable covering it up because it's better to cover it up than worry about being judged? And it's like, which one is it? And I've always been very modest that way. And I always thought like maybe because that's also a slightly autistic thing. Like I'm very like, I don't want to say masculine because I love being feminine. I love makeup. I love looking nice, but I don't like showing my body. I never have. I'm not that person. And it's not even a judgment. It is a little though. Who knows? And then like bring it. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the show The Challenge, but I'm sure you're familiar with plastic surgery. And that show always, because it's the only show I watch, and you see these very pretty young girls that go and get made completely plastic. And it's like, I want to respect people's instincts for beauty, but how is becoming plastic like that right there is a feminine twist. You know what I mean? Like the feminine, and it's like, what do you guys think about women turning plastic? Is that personal choice, or is that like they maybe need to realign?
I think it goes, I'm probably going to say something a little bit controversial there, but I think it's the same sort of thing with transgenderism, but it's expressed differently. It's the rejection of the self as you were born, basically. I'm not saying transgenderism is a completely black and white thing. There's a lot more to it. But I think when you start messing about with nature, if it's not causing you actual problems, then I don't know. I'm a bit like, because any surgery that you have causes a trauma in your body that you have to heal, and that's the thing. It's when you look at it from an energetic standpoint, you're essentially you're traumatizing yourself, and you're doing it from a place of trauma because you think you're not good enough, and it's actually self-betrayal, and your body knows that. I mean, I didn't really say this in the beginning, but I'm really into like the shamanic kind of way of healing. I've been doing a lot of shamanic healing myself, and following that path for quite a number of years now. And when you drop into the body, you've got a spirit, you've got a soul, you've got an essence, but so have all of your cells, so have your organs, so has your skin. And when you start cutting into that, you're deliberately traumatizing it, and your body rejects you. It's the same sort of thing for any kind of physical abuse that you have. That's where you store it, maybe not actually physically, but in your emotional body, in your mental body, and then that comes out as disease or even mental illness. And I think that's the problem. People aren't, if they looked at the reason why they wanted to do it, and they had the support and the tools, and society didn't tell us that we needed a pill to fix ourselves and that we needed to cut ourselves to fix ourselves, I don't think people would have plastic surgery. I think they'd just be happy with who they are. And this is the thing, it's a big melting pot of all these inversions of the system, isn't it? That are basically causing us to self-betray. I mean, I've had a huge journey. I mean, I'm still going on a bit, but I've been fat and thin so many times I couldn't even tell you. And it's all to do with like holding on to this kind of like resistance and all these expectations. And as I'm kind of healing now, I'm starting to let it go. And I'm coming from it from a very different point. But this is the thing. It's like, why are we wanting to change? What's the reason behind it? Are we wanting to change to heal, or are we wanting to change to fit into an unrealistic beauty standard that we're told that we need to be accepted and appreciated by society and men, you know?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it comes down to competition too. Like they want to
Yeah.
be better than the other females. And we all have that. I read recently, and it rang is so true. But women, it's like innate. We walk into a room, we look around, we see if we're the prettiest one in the room. We see who's prettier, we see who's not, and we create a hierarchy. We also check who's the coolest, who's the most well behaved. Like there's all these categories, women especially, and they'll do it with men too. But they'll go through and they'll size them up. It's like a female instinct. So it makes sense why we get so obsessed with beauty and perfection and our looks. And especially because we take on weight easier than men. We don't age as well as men. So we're also handed like a disservice in that area because it is something that's, oh, and then it matters to us more to be pretty. That is part of the divine feminine. Being beautiful is actually part of being feminine. So it's definitely a rock and a hard place there with figuring out the best area, but I completely 100% agree with everything you said because that's exactly it. You are betraying yourself. And I'm a bit of a like, the Christian scientists, how they don't believe in surgery. I'm a little bit like that myself. Of course, I would do it to save a life, but like, I don't think we should be touching anything if we don't have to. What are your thoughts on this, Karen?
Yeah, I think a lot of that, that inversion, yeah, it's tough. It's a mind virus. It's been propagated for decades subliminally in music, in movies, TV shows, getting into our psyche. Oh, Mean Girls. Oh, look at her. Well, shoes. That bag is so last year. Like all of that. It's just, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And yeah, men don't necessarily have that many accessories to deal with when being judged by other men. It's, they have their own, but like you said, there's like that little subconscious checklist of like judging, like, oh, let's kind of scan this person, is that person worth me talking to? Should I make an effort? It's interesting. And yeah, it's a lot of just the TVs, the screens, the social media, what's pushed in the algorithms is not necessarily help. I'm not sure if I think I saw a thing about with TikTok about the experience of users in China and what content they get in their feed, and like these amazing, intelligent, artful videos that were just like, wow, those are real. Like I would use TikTok if that's what would pop up. So, but yeah, it's that divine feminine. And I feel like, people who are aware and trying to help, educate, or not even educate, just help people unlearn the programming of competition must be the best. No, you got to be the best you. Like God made you to be you, not anyone else. And putting that blanket of self-judgment, I must look a certain way, I can't be a certain size, oh, I'm too short, too tall, oh, and now it's all, oh, well, we're gonna, skin color, ethnicity, language, sexuality, divide. And
Yeah.
I'm optimistic that more people are finally seeing it for what it is and understanding that preference is not a prejudice. Selfishness is not a sin. Taking care of yourself first, your family first, your community. Nothing wrong with that. It's a control structure that does that, so if we're all fighting each other, you don't really notice what's going on at a higher level, in the
Divide and
environment, both
conquer.
physical and emotional and mental, educational, just everything. We've been assaulted for so long, but the time is up. Like, for sure. That's the energy that's been coming through for me, is like, go time. Who cares? Do it. I feel the divine nudge to do something, reach out, say something to somebody. Hey, so what? I don't care if I'm a fool. I'm a fool all the time. It doesn't matter. I like to laugh. My husband loves to laugh. He's a fun guy. And so so I'm very blessed and grateful to have him, as a support, because I used to be, he used to joke that I was the sugar mama making all the money, like vacations and all that good stuff. And now it's last few years, it's like, hey, we're just keeping it simple. It's fine. We don't need the stuff. We have more fun doing things that we enjoy and not caring about, ooh, what's the cool popular place to go eat at, or the movie you want to see. Don't care. Don't care about, superhero movies. Don't care about, ooh, who wore what at this award show. It's like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. And that makes me so excited and so hopeful that, more people are waking up, more people are speaking out and getting over that fear. And I'm getting over that fear. I'm like the technology thing. I'm still very much, Uncle Ted and tech and industrial society. Like, yeah, I see it all. It's like, but I think in our group, someone had mentioned about, I think it was a blessing in disguise that so many of us got booted off social media and our accounts banned, because that's basic. Because I used to be massively online by 2018, 19, 20, forget it, lost that. So I haven't been online much at all until within the past year, when I started my business and realizing, yeah, I'm not working in the system anymore. I've got something better to offer the world, and just having that trust with the financial stuff, and everything always works out, always creating the future and the now. Trust in God, trust in yourself, and love will find a way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well done. I completely agree with all of that. Awesome. You've had such an interesting journey, Karen, haven't you, really? Oh, you've gone from, it really strikes me that you've gone from, like, obviously from listening to you speak, from a really kind of materialistic perspective to a really more kind of intuitive, self-aligned way of being. Like you talk about, obviously, like I've noticed you said a few times, it's about being in the now, and it isn't it. And I completely agree with you about that social media thing. It distracts you from being in the present moment, and you notice that. And I also want to touch on social media a little bit, especially with like girls and even boys. And the children now, they're being brought up to constantly be under kind of like surveillance. I think that has a massive impact on their mental health. They're constantly under some sort of like observation, and they feel like it's normal. And I do kind of feel like there's a bit of a reason for that. I mean, in England's one of the most heavily monetized states. Like there's cameras everywhere. You're always being recorded somewhere, and it's like they're being programmed to, again, police themselves. There's always somebody with a camera, if anything happens, and you see people, there's like somebody getting stabbed and they're all just there with the cameras, and it's like, what are you doing? They're not present. They're not. It's like some sort of weird, bizarre Wetiko mind virus that's infected everybody, I mean, I could go on about this for hours, so I won't bore you all, but yeah, I do feel like there's a lot of inversions, and like going back to the beauty standards with girls, especially, because that's kind of what we're on about at the moment with the divine feminine. It's almost like you've got to be airbrushed, and you look at filters. Women have got bloody pores, we do not have porcelain skin. I mean, some people do, but generally, it's like you're taught to be again, going back to the plastic surgery thing as well. I think this is why it's on the rise, because people have to look a certain way, and you see these Kim Kardashian clones, and everybody looks the same. And you think, oh my God, there's no difference in any of them. There's no individuality. There's no creativity. It's like their Seiko chakras have just been like completely shut down. There's no expression in themselves. They're all standing around with these big giant lips, pouting with like giant eyelashes, and they've got nothing to say. They're so shallow. It's like, I don't want to see you pouting. I don't want to see how great your Prada purse is. I want to know what you've got. What do you think? What are your opinions? As a young woman, that's becoming, that's going into the world, what do you see around you? What do you think? What are your values? Do you even know who you are? And that's the big thing, isn't it? Sorry, I went on my soapbox a bit there, but yeah. I can't hear you, Dyanna.
It's telling me, it warned me. It could hear
Oh.
I was talking. It told me. That's funny. No, that actually goes into why I brought up the challenge specifically, because you're saying about like the empty-headed, they don't have much to talk. Except this is why I say the challenge, and I didn't make that clear, because that's true. There's a large amount of just like the vapid women, but the girls on the challenge, that's a show where like if you don't start amazing, you become amazing. That's why I like it. It's a show that used to be a drinking show, and then they did challenges. It has progressed through like the last 20 years or so, and now it's serious. It's like a top level sport, and these people train all during the off seasons to come and be real athletes on this show, and they show how amazing they are, and a lot of them are very smart, because you also, it's not just athletic ability, it's also intellectual ability, it's social
Yeah.
ability. Like the show does all of the things that would make a person amazing. And these girls looking the way they do, it's like, how can you be this smart, this talented, this amazing, and still think you need to like look like this? And then some of them have like the full duck lips. And I don't want to sound judgy, but it's like, why and how? And fillers like this when they're only 25, 26, 28 tops. They're not even in their 30s yet. Why? It just baffles me. It hurts me because they're hurting themselves. And it's like, and they're beautiful beforehand too. Like I've seen girls that
Dyanna, she's gone again.
Yep. She froze
We've lost,
again.
we've lost you, my love. But yeah, going back onto what she was saying about the beauty standards and how it's almost like it's impossible, don't you think, to meet these standards? You look at, I mean, there's a very few number of women that I see in real life that actually would meet the expected standard of what people should look like, and I think it's really sad. And it's like was it you that was talking about comparisons? When we're in these competition, when you actually start to heal the root of competition, it comes down to self-worth. When you're happy with who you are and you're fully embodied and you are fully within your own power, you don't need to compare yourself to anybody else. You can look at other people and be like, oh, that looks really great. Oh, that woman's purse is amazing. Oh my God, I need a Prada purse. Or, oh my God, that woman's got amazing eyebrows. I need to get my eyebrows done. Oh my God, I need to lose like whatever, 50 pounds. Or do you know what I mean? You don't even look that way, because you just think, oh, that's really great. I'm really happy for them. And you shift from a place of wanting and a place of like grabbiness to kind of a place of wholeness, really. And you can appreciate another person for who they are. And I think that's basically,
I can appreciate, like, oh, look. And then kind of with that perception of like, yeah, we're all one. So that's kind of mine too. So thank you for getting that person, kind of giving me that little, ooh, that's cute. Yeah.
yeah, it is. Yeah, go on, so Karen, I'll cut you off again.
Oh, I was gonna just say, that the standards, the beauty standards is basically, I've gotten to the point where I'm creating my own. Like I said, I was like, oh, I don't care if I don't have makeup or whatever. I'm over that, I guess. Just yeah, because I'm like, no one's looking at me. Everyone's so in their own head anyway, thinking, being fearful of being judged. And then as you're awakened and conscious and present and understanding, your value, your purpose, you realize that so many of these people, I don't care what their opinion is. It's like, it doesn't bother me anymore. I used to be, especially with females. Oh, everyone needs to like me. I got to please people. I got to help people because it's the kind thing to do, even at your own expense. It's like, no, you can say no with kindness. I have no guilt saying no, thank you, not for me, and let people be mad.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't control your emotions. I can control mine. Am I tired? Do I have the resources, the capacity to deal with whatever or be around whomever? Prepare, and go and be around, to not limit myself, to not be around challenging people, still having social ties with families and going out and doing things, but with the perception and the expectation of, I understand the energy is going to be like this because they just want to be negative and complain and criticize other people. Oh, did you see so and so did such and such and blah blah blah.
Oh
And
God, I hate that.
and then in some instances I'll be like, you know what? I really, if my rule, and I'll tell them that, I'm like, I do not speak about people unless they're here. I'll
Yeah.
just excuse myself. And it's fine if they want to think I'm being, rude or whatever. I'm like, but understanding energy, what you listen to and think about and look at is just as important as what you eat and nourish your physical body with, if not
Mhm.
more so. So I'm always conscious of like, ooh, if someone's being a little icky, whatever, I can either remove myself or I can just kind of shift the conversation to get them to talk about something that they love, like their pet or their child or their car. Just shift it and just kind of, understand. You plant the seed. You can kind of Jedi mind trick people into switching the subject. And then, I can feel it like, oh, yes, they're talking about something they like, a new recipe or, a new hobby, something they saw on TikTok. Hey, great. Talk about something that you love. Great. Just, so I feel like, that's my role, is to help people stop whining, even if they don't know that that's like what I do when I steer conversations at times. But yeah, always look on the bright side and understand you always get what you give. So giving mindfulness, kindness, not judging, but just appreciating, recognizing that I've been there. I've been there and it sucks. So whatever I can do to help someone not feel that emotional, mental pain of worry and fear and anxiety all the time. It's just you can drop it. But, as you well know, it takes time and persistence and patience and, you know, ah, just total faith and trust.
Yeah. You're very good though, because I like what you said. Sorry, Diane, I'm just jumping in quickly. So what you described there was a really good overview of holding space, because you need to be present to do that. If you're having a conversation with somebody, like I'm sat listening to you, I'm aware of Dyanna, and you're creating basically an energetic container, aren't you? And you're holding your own emotions in balance, in check. And what that actually creates is you don't become reactive. So you can listen to another person and you can be objective and you can listen to what they're saying and you can see and you can feel their emotions. And then you interpret kind of intuitively what's going to happen next. So going back into that kind of dynamic in groups of women. I mean, I'm not going to stag women off, but we do tend to get into a group of women. And there's always something that goes, oh, did you hear about Sally? Oh, she's sleeping with next door neighbour or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It all comes up, doesn't it? And it's just being able to sit and hold that space and say, do you know what? How are we going to move this back round for a higher, for a higher timeline, or to be more productive, so we don't lower the vibe, basically. And it's that presence, isn't it? You can't do it if you haven't got presence. And also, I suppose when you're speaking to people one-on-one as well, and they're kind of sharing things with you, you can nudge them in nice ways. You can kind of invite them to maybe look at things in different ways, like change your perspectives, like you were saying. I don't think we can heal people, but I think what we can actually do is create a space of pure presence, so they can literally express their own emotions in a safe environment. And that's how they really heal themselves. So look, with the shamanic healing especially, is you will sit with your own body and you will notice your emotions. You don't even have to move them out sometimes. I've got to the point now where I'm like, oh, what's that? And you just sit with it in pure presence. You just hold it. You've got no expectations. You've got no judgment. You've got no expected outcome, basically. You just sit with it. You sit with it and you witness it. And it's in the witnessing with unconditional love that it will just dissolve, it will just go away, or it will just be integrated. And that's how you do it. It's that easy.
I love that. That was perfect. And that's exactly like taking what both you said combined. When people talk to me and they get like in a topic that's like, well, I don't want to go there and it's dark and like, I try to find, instead of like the positive, but like I literally try to find what brings their soul alive. And I can feel for it intuitively and dig, and I can hear things they don't even know they're saying. And I'm like, oh, because I can tell you sounded excited when you said that. And like to just begin that process, because, and then women, I find to talk about everything, and we want to talk about what so and so did, and blah blah blah. Like, we do want to talk about that, but it doesn't have to be negative. It can be from a
Yeah.
place of love. Like, the feminine is the community. Like, we have community because of the feminine. So it's a natural instinct that we want to be like, oh, guess what? Blah blah blah. I want to talk about other people, but this is something like I had to like stop myself on, because I grew up with sisters, so naturally being very gossipy just because of the sisters, and sometimes I'm even guilty of still doing it with my sisters, and we'll gossip about the other sister that's not there. But like, you have to, like, it's a learning, and it feels great. Like, gossiping is an actual like drug that feels really good, but stopping it and changing it is definitely something on the table right now as we grow and just find new and loving ways. So I like what you said, Carrie and Samantha, like, we just like find ways to bring the soul into it and just make it more positive.
Yeah. Right on. I love that. Absolutely. It is. It's just flipping the switch. And I think I really like what you were talking about. Like, women like to talk. We do. We will chew the hind legs off. Most of us will anyway. When we're with the right company, I think we talk about people that are extrovert or introvert. I don't really think there's proper introverted people. I think there's just people that like their own energy in their own space. So they don't want to share it with people that are draining them. I think that's the difference. But yeah, absolutely. I think if you can meet people and you can discuss what's going on around you, because that's how you grow, isn't it? You share ideas, you interact with other people. There's that biofield to biofield kind of entrainment. When you're having a good conversation and you're emotionally like linked, because you become more and more involved in the conversation, don't you, and present. And that my biofield will be reaching out to yours and Karen's biofield now, because we're chatting about all this stuff, aren't we? And you communicate things on a subconscious level as well, literally through your energetic presence. So a lot of the time you can pick, this is kind of how it works telepathically. So you're pushing it out for your heart biofield and you're pushing out your intention. And if you're in a really heart aligned space, you can steer a conversation just by pushing out your intention from your heart. And it will implant that information in the people that you're talking to, basically. And this is how you raise the vibe, essentially. That's how you can change it, because energy, when you come into a room, you probably all noticed if there's somebody there that's a bit of a sourpuss, you will feel it if you're not in that. So you either got to come down to meet them, or they've got to come up to meet you. So that whenever I go into a room, I'm like, I'm not coming to meet you. You come up to meet me, and they will either come up to meet me or they will leave. And that's another way to do it. It's about being completely sovereign and boundaries. I am not going to get pulled into negativity. I'm going to come at it from a place of love. Yeah, I'm going to talk about, I don't know, Karen's handbag because it's great. I'm going to talk about whatever happened last week, but it's like discussing it in a way to understand, rather than discussing it in a way to make ourselves feel better at the misfortune of others. And I think that's the difference, isn't it?
Mm.
Sorry.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, it's good. I was giving Karen the floor, but I like what we need to not do it in a competition way. Like, when we're discussing, it's not to get one up. Like, oh, guess what? And then we're saying it because the gossip urge comes from, when you say it, you assume the person you're telling is going to think you're better than that person you're gossiping about. And that's just the human instinct, right? Men do it with their own strength reasons, but women do it with gossiping. And it could be anything. And the way the olden days used to be makes me want to puke. Like, they gossip about not having the right Tupperware, and like talk about life. I'm not gossiping saying that, but talk about life being small. Like, oh my God, if I'm gonna gossip, it's like you're meditating wrong. But I'm not even gonna do that. But if I was going to, I prefer it to be that style, and to actually have meaning and merit and matter, and actually tangible reasons why we're talking about something. There's some area of growth that can happen in the discussion. So we're having like almost an alchemical process on whatever it is we're discussing. And like, as we're learning in our group, and as we're having different things happen, we're learning to talk about things, and like have it not be confrontational, and not be like, oh, that's not fair, or not be like it's actually really almost a new experience for me. I've worked with people in the past, but it's always one-on-one in spiritual, but this is my first group where there's getting to be a larger number of us, and I think we're doing really well. Like, well, it seems authentic too. It doesn't seem like anyone's biting their tongue overly, and or anyone's, like, it just seems very natural flowing of loving and honoring and respecting other people's different lives and different opinions, and just the whole flow of it is perfection. And hopefully, like, humanity keeps going in this manner, because communication is so key. I have an open throne center, and it's very, very rare in human design, and it's almost my mission to find, ironically, the best ways to talk about things, the best ways to touch on things, because we have a lot of hard situations we do need to talk about as humanity. We're also very, very sensitive, and the olden day way of talking about things, if you can see it on Twitter still, and especially in the political sphere, is as soon as you start talking about things, they'll jump on you, and they get very nasty very quickly. And it's like, we can disagree. That's fine. We can disagree, but we don't need to be nasty about it. We don't need to assume superiority. We don't need to, all the negative things that were once natural, that's got to go. And like, I like our group because we're literally, I don't know about you guys if you've been in spiritual groups, or Karen, I guess you have with your retreat that you go to, but like, learning to have these hard discussions, but copacetically, you know what I mean? Like, fluid. Like, how did you have that actually, Karen? Like, at that group you go to, or that you were going to, like, how did discussions happen? And not with fake positivity either, because I've seen that before. Like, actually telling our truth, actually saying the truth, but in a cohesive, productive manner.
Yeah, we
How
have
did
to
that
be
look for you,
careful
Karen?
how we present it sometimes. Yeah, and not caring if they get mad, or they do get mad. I had someone get really mad at me because I let them whine and bitch and moan for like a solid 10 minutes, and then I was just like, okay, that's enough. And then they tried to follow and keep it up, and I just said no. I just straight up said, I'm not listening to your whining. You want to talk solutions? You want to talk about, sunshine or learning a new hobby? I mean, and that's something that's helped me as far as like a spiritual growth technique, if you're interested, is just doing something new. And as I always tell clients, do something new. I always go to a different grocery store. I go to like 5 different stores just because every time I go in, I'm like, I don't know where what I'm looking for is. So then it's like I have to be super present and pay attention. Where am I going? What do I need? Like, whatever it is just bring in something new and try to help people realize that just because they're at a certain age, well, this is just how it is. This is how it's always been done. And I'm just negative. This is just how it is. Oh, I'm always just sick. I mean, like, yeah, people speak that into existence. And I tell them, stop whining about the pain, instead of saying, oh my gosh, it's horrible, I need to take this and this and that, and they're throwing blood pressure numbers at me, and I'm like, I legit have no idea what those numbers mean, because I've never cared about, I've always been healthy. I always tell myself, I'm good, I'm healthy, I'm good. I manifest that. It's fine, I'm fine, whatever. If I need to, whatever, go get help for whatever, it's fine. It's not now. It's, and people that, don't have the awareness of the power of their words and their thoughts. And if all they're doing is bringing up the past, I mean, I'm not sure. Actually, I'll ask both of you if your experience doing other women's groups, like with people you didn't know, and go to like a spiritual kind of event at a metaphysical retreat. I kind of went to one, and it was just very interesting, because what I observed was um, everyone just, who are you? What's your thing? And everything was like they all talked about past trauma, past trauma. This happened to me, that happened, and I'm just the only one. I'm here because I want to create more love and peace and health in the world. Like, and everyone else was just talking about, oh, like all these horrible things. But it's like, that's what put you on the path. You should have gratitude for that, but also not be speaking pain, suffering, misery. Because when you share that kind of negativity, you're implanting that belief in other people's minds. So now they may view you as a victim, as someone who's struggling, instead of someone who's growing and expanding and learning. Like, it's just interesting. Sometimes I think women get stuck on the past, and they want to be heard, they want to be healed, but not understanding that the healing comes from within, and the acceptance and the letting go of it, and having gratitude for the lesson. So I don't know if you guys, yeah, so I've never gone back to another one because I just was like, huh, maybe I'm I'm not as of it, because sometimes like I do the judgy thing on myself, like, oh, who am I? I've been on this journey for, so long, but there's women who've been doing this for way longer. And just having that kind of thought in my head was like, oh, I'm going to learn so much from all these people. And I was just kind of, because I read a lot. So I've read a lot, I'm very much into the mental, the hermeticism, the thoughts, the beliefs, the energy, the vibration, hardcore responsibility for my thoughts. If something happens in my life, how did I create this? So I was really surprised that more women didn't. I mean, is that a divine masculine aspect, to be more logic, more self-control and vigilant about everything?
I just want to touch on a few things that you said there. I found it very interesting what you were talking about, self-responsibility, which is a big one. And I think that is the top and bottom of it, really, isn't it? It's personal responsibility, because you've all had trauma. And I think while it does help to talk about it, because sometimes you need a release, and we were talking before about being the witness, it's picking your moments. I mean, was it a retreat to deal with trauma? No. But I think sometimes, especially kind of, so I do a lot of, I'm a trained sound therapist, basically, and I'm going back to I've not done it for years, and I'm going back to retrain. And the types of places where you go and you meet these people, and the types of treatment that you have, it does tend to bring up a lot of emotion. And the people that you're with do tend to be quite safe. So because you're in a safe environment and you're dealing with a lot of sound frequencies, it can bring up a lot of kind of lodged in trauma. So you do have to kind of be sympathetic and aware. But also on the flip side of that, the person that's actually my teacher, he started doing these like 10-day intensives, and they all go off. There's like 11 people, and they all do like 10 days of like, with all the instruments, and they write all their experiences down, because it's like how you process it in your own body, and it helps you understand how the sound works in other people. And what they found was a lot of the emotions were coming up for people, and it was causing a lot of conflict because of the amount of time that they were all together. So I think that's also a factor as well. When a lot of people are dealing with trauma all at the same time, it's it's probably not a good place to be. You have to kind of account. You have to account for that. And I think perhaps depending on what kind of retreat it was you were going on and what you were dealing with, maybe
I guess I should say it was more just like a 90-minute sound healing workshop at a metaphysical. So it wasn't like a full-on thing, but it was my first and only time being in it was just so many women. But it just brought awareness to me that, hey, I'm still in this lone wolf thing, but I've been trying and intending, but now I've met you because I'm trying to find my tribe, people who are just at a different, perspective, awareness, experience, self-responsibility. But yeah, it actually, like, I had held so much compassion because having been there, but I was just surprised, or thinking that just because the people who were there have been in the, metaphysical healing field for so many decades, that it was just surprising, but it brought awareness. But that makes sense though, because I've never gone to like a full retreat where it's really immersive and things like that. So I appreciate that, because that's but it was absolutely a safe space, and there was a lot of emotion pouring out, and it was very much hitting my heart, like, wow, like that so many women have been so traumatized and abused, and it's never talked about, that to realize just how many women that you would not even know what they've gone through. And
I think everybody's got a story,
like, wow.
haven't they? Yeah. But that's the difference, isn't it? So it's sorry, I'll let you speak in a minute, Dyanna, but it's just quickly, I want to just say, so it's almost like it is the setting, it's the intention behind what you're doing as well, isn't it? It's reading the room. And while people's emotions might spill over if something's come up, if you're literally going there to dominate and talk about your trauma when you should be learning about sound healing, then that's not a healed person at all, is it? Let's be honest. If you're in a women's circle and you're all sat around and you're sharing, and that's the whole purpose of it, is to sit in presence, that's a completely like kind of ball game, because that's what you're there to do. And I think going back again to being sovereign, it's saying, hey, I really appreciate your story. Thanks for feeling so safe to say this. Shall we now concentrate on, I know it sounds a bit horrible, isn't it? It's doing it in a way that's guiding, caring, respectful, but also, you know, standing up for your own authority, because you're not there. You know, you've not paid to go and do a 90-minute, you know, sound intensive to listen to Barbara talk about when her husband blacked her eyes. I know it sounds awful, but you're not, are you? And everybody's like, oh, I've had black eyes as well. And it's like, well, we didn't really come here to talk about this. However, if you want to get a coffee afterwards, I'm really happy to go and sit with you and give you my presence. And that's when people get a bit annoyed, because you're in your divine feminine, basically, because that's what it is, divine feminine. And I think a lot of men are like, oh, I want a divine feminine. And it's like, you don't, because she won't put up with your shit. She'll lovingly tell you you're talking shit, and she'll lovingly put you back in your books and say, hey, what you've just said isn't all right. Shall we address that, and shall we sit and think about it? What do you think could be done better? How have I given you that kind of idea that that would be acceptable, you know? Because it's not. And a lot of men are like, oh my God, you're horrible. You're not spiritual at all. It's like, well, I am spiritual, because I've just told you that what you've done is not okay. And I'm happy to sit here and sit and work through it with you. And I'm happy to give you my time. And I'm happy to give you my compassion, my love, my non-judgment, which I'm not running away. I'm not projecting anything on you. And they're like, ah, and the balls shrinks the size of raisins. They hate it. So a lot of men are like, but what? They don't want a divine feminine. They want a woman that's going to go, you're so great. Everything you do is beautiful. Yeah, you make me wash up. That's fine. I'm not bothered. And it's like, no, that ain't going to fly, love. I'm sorry. So that was a bit of a rant.
I love that, and I hope you can understand me, because I feel so deeply about this. Like, my I'm coming through clear. You would make a fantastic life coach yourself, Samantha. Like, that's what I think Karen does, and that's what I do, life coach ministry now, where we walk through people through the journey, and it's so often that they only come to you because they want to just complain and tell their trauma, but they don't want to move on, and then they come and they don't stay for long. I've had a few, very few, that have really gone through it and actually come out the alchemical other side. And like Karen has, like you, and I think a lot of it has to do with the hermetics. I love that you mentioned the hermetics, because I myself started as a pagan, and when I was still a pagan, I was still complaining, I was still wounded, I was still drinking, I was still in a lower space, let's say. I was still wanting anybody that could listen to hear about how sad I was, how traumatized I was, until it finally gets through to you that the all is mind. Hello? It's common sense to think differently, to speak differently. Yes, we should. I'm even hesitant now to tell anybody about any bad experience, because I do not want to perpetuate it. I do not want to solidify that in my reality. And I try to get that through to clients and for people. I don't know what to call them down in the ministry. I need another word. Patrons, I don't know what to call them. But I want to get through to them that you are hurting yourself. And it's hard to find the language sometimes, especially as a Sagittarius, without just being like, yo, you're being dumb. Smarten up. Like, because that's literally just what you want to say. Like, because I've said it in my educational way a bunch of times. I'll repeat. And they'll say, oh, you just start listening. You just start understanding. Yes, I am. Well, one thing I've actually recently started to do, and I will use it for any future clients that come my way that also get stuck in this place, and that is to divinely just sit there and like, and it's energetically exhausting, but to just actually let them be heard. I'm like, okay, they just want me to experience their pain, so I experience their pain, and I let it wash over me, and then they will finally stop repeating the circle. I can tell they've energetically felt it. I won't tell them I'm doing it. I won't tell them I'm doing anything differently. But you can see the difference, because I used to be very like, oh no, you can't be thinking that way, think this way, like a coach would, right? But then it just hit me. It was almost like a divine download to like let it in. And I was like, oh God, because I've had bad experience doing that in the past when I first started doing workshops and energy healing. Like I can very much take in someone's actual sickness. But it's years later now, and I've just started doing it in a different way of just allowing them and just like in a space of, I hear you to every depth I'm capable of. And wow, it does something, because I think that's why they get in these repeating patterns, is they don't feel heard. They also don't know about the hermetics, so they're not deeply thinking about it enough, because that's a huge thing. But also, like, they want you to know they were hurt. Like, these people get hurt and their parents didn't care. Their parents were probably the ones hurting them, or siblings, and the parents didn't care. School, no one cared. And they just finally need someone to care, and not in a fake toxic positivity way. Like you were saying, like how like, oh, you're paid, oh, I'm so sorry. No, it's not even that. Because then those are just words. It's an energy, like an allowing that needs to happen. And then I'm seeing miracles happen. And it's beautiful. And it's actually doing so much more. I can't even explain it. So I love it. And thank you. Both you guys were just geniuses with both your points.
It's presence, what you've just described, that pure presence. You sit in pure presence. And the thing is, I loved that, Dyanna. I loved all that. It was perfect. It was beautiful. It really sums up the whole principle of witnessing somebody's pain, basically. You're giving them your full attention, that your full presence and attention. And that is what they want to be. They just need to be witnessed. And when they have been witnessed, you like I'm saying, you create this energetic container. And I really want to touch on what you said about taking people's emotional trouble and turmoil and all the rest of it and alchemizing it in yourself, because we all do that. I think I found, not everybody, but the majority of people on this path, they're empaths, aren't they, basically? And I've had a massive issues with chronic fatigue that I'm healing at the moment, and a lot of that was, I was a nurse, obviously. I was run down, but I was going to my patients and I was taking on their crap. And I was leaving, and I was internalizing it. And obviously I was alchemizing it and moving it through me, but that takes a lot of energy. And we don't have to do it because we're not responsible for other people's pain. We don't have to take it on. And it's almost a subconscious thing that we're kind of like programmed with, because we come in here and we're so open and we're so sensitive and we can feel it. And it's like, oh, I've got all this empathy for you. But no, again, it's boundaries. It's all down to boundaries. We do not take other people's crap on, because it isn't our responsibility. What we do is we sit in boundaries, silence, in full presence, and they heal themselves. And that's what they're doing. Like we were on about the patterns. And then once they've said what they're going to say, they've released it. And that's when you can help to reprogram. And that's when the coaching comes in, I would imagine, when you're like, right, so what are you going to do about this now? What can you change? You've recognized this. And then you give them the keys to their own kingdom. How can you empower them to change their own lives? Because that's what it is, isn't it? It's like when you look at energetic healing, the shamanic practitioner was talking about when people come and have entities removed, and she'll do it once, and if they come back again, she won't do it again, because it's like you're still enabling. This is a part of you that isn't, you're not accepting responsibility for how that entity is coming in, because that's what it does. It goes in our trauma and our wounding, very much like what you were saying, Karen, about they just want to sit and whine and be a victim. You can't be a victim. And this is the thing, when you move onto this path, all of the crap that you're holding within you will come up for healing. And this is the power of the divine feminine. There's some great male healers as well, I'm not saying that, but the power of the feminine, we are the wombic space. We are the cosmic womb. We can create that, we can help people, we can hold them, and they can then birth themselves anew going forward. And that's the power that we've got.
That's beautiful. 100%. Beautiful way to express that. Absolutely feel that.
That up there, that was perfection. That was exactly it. And I hope it brought people wisdom from the goddess and helped to clear out that goddess energy, because the goddess is so powerful. I think like it is the feminine first, that little bit, but that masculine is able to channel it and be more precise and be more organized and actually get it out clearer. Yeah. But the feminine is bringing it in to begin with. So us being clear and not in a shadow, like the feminine has so much to work through, like so much wounding. The goddess herself, like we all feel it. Try to tap into her and you can feel the rage. Like there's so much there. She's been stifled for thousands of years. And so we got lots to do, and I hope we do this again. Like this was an amazing goddess corner of this collective spiritual panel. I enjoyed it so much. If you guys all want to say your goodbyes, and I love you guys all so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you ever so much. I love you both.
Thank you. You all were so wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.